Alright, welcome back. Let's talk blades, because that's what we're into. This is the continuation of what I've been able to do to clean this blade up. Um, my, I guess, my way of calling it is the Zombie Killer Part 3. Now, the reason why I cut out was because I didn't want the table to keep shaking, and it's like it's doing right now, as I was cleaning it. So I was doing the very best that I can to get it off, and as you can tell, I've gotten most of the rust off. I want to say about 75 to 80% of the rust off of the blade. Obviously I can't get to those parts. I don't know why, but it's just not really coming off. I'm sure if I took a little bit more time to it, it would have came off, but the pitting is really bad in that section. And because this knife is an outdoor knife, I'm not really all that worried and putting too much elbow grease in it, but I did get most of the rust off. What you're seeing here, all the little black spots, is pitting from the rust. And when rust is left on a blade for long enough, it causes pitting. And pitting is usually something that you can't really avoid. That's all the black marks right there. You cannot remove it. I mean, you can, but with just traditional means, like I've used the vinegar, the baking soda, and the rust eraser, isn't really going to get rid of the rust, or not the rust, the pitting that it leaves behind. So it's basically kind of like a scar. You could buff it out, you could sand it out, but that requires removing the metal from the blade. And with really bad rust damage, doing that would actually just compromise the integrity of the blade a little bit. So this is just basically my finishing touch to the blade. After I used the baking soda and the white wine vinegar, I used a rust eraser, which was this little, probably like 2-inch rubber rectangle that I've basically scrubbed on this blade. I tried not to take too much of the black finish off of there, because that's what was on there to protect the part that isn't exposed metal. But obviously there was so much rust that I couldn't really avoid certain areas. But I mean, overall I did what I could to clean it up, and it came out pretty decent. It's not perfect, but this blade isn't going to be intended to be an indoor knife, or a knife that is, or a blade, excuse me, that is going to be intended for anything else other than outdoor. So this right here is in better condition than it was when it started. Like I said, the black spots I obviously cannot remove using traditional methods. So what I did do, though, after I cleaned it up and I removed all the rust that I could, I put on the Metal Glow. Cleans, polishes, and protects, removes tarnish and oxidation. I just put this on here kind of as like a finish on the blade, kind of like a protection of sorts. I just put I put like 5 dabs on each side of the blade, and I just went over with this rag. That's what this black spot is right here, is just me just kind of, buffing it in, rubbing it in on both sides evenly, the best that I can. But yeah, that's basically what I did, and it came out pretty decent. I wish I could do something about the pitting on there, but because of the rust being so bad on the blade, it was just really, really difficult. And getting to that, I used up more than half my rust eraser just to get off whatever loose rust that was already caked on the bottom part of this blade. But the point being is that this is an outdoor blade. This part of the blade isn't going to be used, plus it's a ricasso. The edge doesn't start till around here, and obviously this part of the blade isn't being used. All the rest of it is. So overall, this was a very interesting experience. I did what I could to try and get the rust out of the little screws the best I could by using the baking soda and the white wine vinegar, just to get it out as much as I can, and it came out a little bit cleaner than it did. So it's something. It's something. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But this blade isn't meant to be something that's going to be, this is going to be hanging in a garage, or it's going to be outside being used for outdoors. So getting most of that rust off, I think, was the most important part. And now it's back to functionality. All it really needs now is an edge. So that was a really fun experience. I can only hope that the person I'm going to give it back to is going to see it in a better light than it was when it was handed to me. So that concludes my video on cleaning this up. Like I said, household products, that's all I was really using. I wanted to use the other stuff, but I think it would be a waste because that stuff is intended for something else. If I used it on this, there was so much rust on it, it would have taken up a lot of the materials that I had set aside. So I just wanted to use something that was a little bit more readily available, that can do the same job for cheaper. So, but yeah, this was a really fun thing to do, a really fun experience. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the first 2 videos on it. Basically, the reason why I cut it out was because I was going to be doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again with the baking soda and the white wine vinegar and my rust eraser. So I did baking soda on here, I rubbed it in, I took the white wine vinegar, put it on, and then just basically just rubbed that in and then wiped it down, and it took off a lot of the rust. And then I took my rust eraser to all the rust that was on the actual blade itself without going to the actual finish, unless I felt that there was enough rust on there for me to take off. And I just did it to both sides to the best of my ability, because one side had more rust than the other, so it was a little bit more of a challenge. But it was me just repetitively doing the same process, switching over from the rust eraser to the baking soda and white wine vinegar, and baking soda and rust eraser. So it was just a continuous process. So like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the next video. I'm going to be doing a few more blade reviews on a couple of new to you guys models that I have in my collection. So stay tuned for that. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks a bunch.